Recently, I've embarked on an epic journey with Kratos and have committed to playing every single game in the series of God of War, making a platinum video that goes over the story and everything it takes to 100% the game, the added twist of doing it all on the hardest difficulty. Now, this isn't the first game on the timeline. There's actually two that take place before it, Ascension and Chains of Olympus, but I grew up on the original trilogy, especially this one. I remember playing the shit out of this one, so I couldn't help myself and I wanted to start here. After this though, Ascension is next and we work our way back to 2018. As a kid, I spent many nights getting beaten bloody with Kratos as I worked my way through the deadly and punishing Pandora's Temple, and especially the incredibly brutal fight with Ares, which took pretty much everything I had to overcome as a kid. But today, I return as an adult, with maybe slightly more skill and a whole lot more experience, so let's find out how it stands up today. The goal here, like I said, is to get every trophy on the hardest difficulty, but with these older ones, you have to beat it once to unlock the hardest, so the first playthrough will be mostly focused on the story. And of course, there's lots of trophies that don't really matter, like the ones that you just automatically get for completing different sections of the story. So after this first playthrough, we will only be on God mode, and we'll make sure to reobtain all the trophies, but for the most part, the focus will be on getting all the trophies that are actually difficult, which really are maxing out everything, which was harder than it sounded, as well as beating the game in under 5 hours. And I was playing this on the PS5, so unfortunately that means I had to stream the games as most of them are only available that way there. So at times I had to deal with some really bad input lag as well as image quality issues. But eventually towards the end, I managed to find a better way, involving some old hardware I didn't even realize I still had. So with all that in mind, let's get started on Kratos' journey to kill a god. I really hope you guys enjoy. Like and subscribe if you do. We see Kratos standing at the edge of a foggy precipice, declaring he's been abandoned by the gods and feeling like all hope is lost. He throws himself over the jagged edge. We don't know what has caused his troubles for the past 10 years yet, but before we see what has become of the Spartan's fate, we are thrown back in time 3 weeks.
Kratos had once been a champion of the gods.
Foul beast! I will send you back to the depths of Hades!
As soon as I was once again, after all these years, back on the deck of this ship, whipping around one of the most satisfying video game weapons ever made, the Chaos Blades, the nostalgia came flooding back, and I was so happy to be playing this game again. It took some serious getting used to though, and to be honest, I feel like I really sucked for the first couple of playthroughs, especially once God mode was turned on. There's plenty of fights I embarrassed myself doing the dumbest thing possible when the winning strategy is almost never as difficult as I make it seem. So have patience, and we can see how I improve over the video, if even ever so slightly. We slaughter our way through the ship, running into the smaller heads of the Hydra along the way. This does a good job getting me used to the block again, as these fights can go on for quite a while. One thing I struggled with was getting the parry timing consistently with the input lag of the streamed version. This also caused me to do accidental combos at times, getting me stuck in animations and either killing me or taking all my health, so you'll be seeing that a lot as we start to upgrade our blades and unlock more attacks, particularly the spin attack that happens with L1 and square. I did that all the time by accident, so if you see me do that move, it was almost certainly unintended. And forget the famous unforgiving QTEs of the OG God of War. The input lag certainly didn't help with these. Watching this back as I edit really makes me realize just how embarrassingly bad I was at the beat balancing on this first playthrough as well. Maybe wondering what my first death was to. Maybe the armies of the dead flooding the ships. Maybe it was the enormous multi-headed mythical serpent surrounding us on all sides. Nope, just a beam. Now we come to the first bit of what would probably be considered one of the challenge rooms. And this is pretty telling design here with how some of these rooms can be. They can be kind of annoying sometimes, especially the first time you're going through. They usually require you to do a rather tedious task while enemies endlessly attack you and try to stop that task from completing. I'm not gonna lie, these can be pretty annoying, especially the first time when you're learning what the developers intended, and most of the time, once you have the strategy, it's not nearly as bad as it seemed, like Poseidon's Sacrifice that we'll be looking at later. There's also sometimes a rather large feeling of luck involved with ones like this, where we have to push this destructible box across the ship so we can then jump up and kill the archers. Now, it's really not that bad, and the only time I actually had the box get destroyed was on the first playthrough. And with each subsequent time I did it, I was able to see the timing and strategy a bit more, just like with a lot of these kinds of sections. But there are some parts that can just be straight up bullshit. Second and third phase Ares, I'm looking at you. Up ahead, we find a locked door where we can hear people screaming for help inside, but unfortunately we need the captain's key to open it. Although I can't help but feel this little wooden door is unlikely to stop Kratos if he really tried. That's okay, we're off to finish the Hydra. But not before being forced to remember that these awful sections exist. Even as a kid, I hated these sections. Although I do learn later on, this first one here is actually pretty easy to just jump past everything, and you can just spam grabs as long as you don't like miss. And these ones you can grab because they're not armored, but honestly I wouldn't be surprised if with enough practice learning, the right route, you could probably jump past most of these wall sections, but could be wrong. I was resorted most of the time to just slowly and tediously chipping my way through them, trying not to get surrounded and stun-locked to death. Especially on God mode, it's really easy to die. There's also similar sections where you have to cross a rope, and it's much worse. No joke, resulting in more deaths than any single section except for Ares. We get our first Gorgonite, which when enough are collected, they increase our max health. Right after, Kratos gets his first bit of magic, Poseidon's Rage, a super good AoE blast that we've been using a lot. Also earning us our first trophy. Also, I know this is mostly me just being bad, but these basic enemies have this attack that they seem to do when getting up after being knocked down. If you attack them while they're knocked down, they do this like super quick spin attack. And with a combination of not being used to it and the input lag doesn't help, it caused me a lot of trouble. Even killing me right here with just one enemy left. Finally, we arrive at the deck of the second ship, which is currently under attack from all three heads of the Hydra. Kratos pulls himself up along the rain-soaked netting to see the captain with the key we need get swallowed up whole by the largest head. Now we know what we must do. Not too difficult of a fight, pretty long though, and once both of the smaller heads have been weakened and pinned to the deck, we head up the net to take on the largest and main head. After totally not falling off whatsoever, the Hydra is conquered. We head inside the beast's mouth.
Thank you! Thank the gods you came back for me!
I didn't come back for you.
Kratos rips the key from the captain's neck as he hangs desperately at the edge of the dark abyss that is its throat. Kratos ruthlessly eats the man, and we make our way back to the captain's quarter, getting a trophy for opening a health chest while already at full health on the way. Sadly, Kratos is too late, and everyone is already slaughtered. We then flash forward and see Kratos exclaiming that he has worked for the gods for 10 years now, and he demands to know when the nightmares will end. Athena tells him that Athens is under attack from Ares, and if he can manage to kill Ares, the god of war, then his past will be forgiven. Kratos, thinking this means his nightmares will end, and he will know some semblance of peace, quickly arrives at Athens, and the next leg of our journey begins. Although any true OG God of War playthrough doesn't truly begin until some low poly boobies are thrown in your face, and you're rewarded for a trophy after a rather quick minigame. I got my first Chainblade upgrade, which also unlocks Rage of the Gods, which is basically our ultimate, making Kratos take less damage and deal a significant amount more. We grabbed our first Phoenix Feather, which will eventually upgrade our magic. Then we are greeted by our first Minotaurs, which don't get too difficult until later when they have this AoE attack that can be pretty crazy, especially with the input lag.
Look out! No! No! Stay away from me!
But they still smacked me around a little bit as I got used to the dodge and parry. Luckily, doing the QTE on these enemies will always give some health. which is a nice part of this game's design. Usually playing well and winning fights will almost always reward you, allow you to come back from any mistakes, giving health or magic depending on the enemy and method of execution. As with most new enemies that the game introduces, winning the first battle is rewarded with a trophy. Just a bit further, another enemy type charges us down. These big boys are pretty easy actually, and they're pretty consistent to dodge. Next, we got Medusa, Queen of the Gorgons. And this is another one that isn't too bad on this playthrough, but the God mode, I found her to be pretty tough. I mean, she just does so much damage, she attacks so quickly, and you can only get like 1 or 2 of your own attacks off before she just instantly dodges and then instantly gets a counter attack. So it's tough, you gotta be on your toes. And it takes a while, it's a test of patience. I mean, once I kind of got the whole, pop Poseidon's Rage, and then I even used my Rage of the Gods on her as well, you can make it a really quick fight, and that was definitely something I thought was pretty worthwhile on God mode. Kratos rips off her head, and now we have the ability to turn enemies to stone, which is super good against these early game Minotaurs. It really speed up the fights. Another fun wall section. All we get is some prime Kratos grunting, before it thrusts right into another pretty god-awful section, the first of the rope fights. Even just on hard, it almost got me, but this is a whole nother thing on God mode, basically requiring no mistakes and for you to like tediously and methodically just like slowly chip your way through. Like, I found the best way to do it was to try to be pixel perfect with your movement forward and then back so that you kind of trigger one side to spawn and not both of them, because if you get surrounded, I mean, it's just all over if you can't kill him fast enough, which early on we don't have upgrades and stuff, you just can't kill him fast enough. You just get surrounded and stun locked down. We then make it to the entrance of the main city and are greeted by the Athens Oracle, who bids us to seek them out and she will show us how to kill a god. We then emerge onto the great cliff overlooking the battle, where we get to see our target, a giant Ares standing in the distance raining down destruction. This does a great job showing us what we're up against and the enormous odds we must overcome. I push on to battle my way through the town with a renewed determination that has been kindled bigger than Ares' fiery hair. Another upgrade is obtained along the way. As we near the Oracle, a woman along our path flees in fear and disgust at the very sight of us. We have no doubt that Kratos, at this point, has done some terrible things, and continues to. The woman walks herself right off the edge, allowing us to obtain the key to move forward. We do get some shield enemies on the way back up, forcing us to do a slam attack to break their shields. These enemies are used maybe 2 or 3 times in the whole game, strangely enough, but I'm not complaining, as they can be a bit annoying, stunning you out of your combo from pretty far. Right after our first max health upgrade is obtained, the first death to accidental spin is achieved. Arriving atop the rooftops of Athens, we immediately are introduced to another new enemy, luckily one that is only really used early on, but still quite a pain in the ass, especially on God mode. Ahead, Zeus bestows the power of his lightning upon us, giving us a quick ranged attack necessary for clearing enemies in certain unreachable situations. finally upgrade our magic before catching up with the Oracle, just in time to see a couple harpies carry her off.
Kratos! Kratos! Find me! You must find me! Athens depends on it!
Of course, we take chase, eventually arriving at the Oracle's temple. Meeting a man digging a hole for unknown reasons that we will learn later, as he is quick to point out with the most subtle foreshadowing ever.
Oh, I've got a lot of digging to do indeed. All will be revealed in good time. And when all appears to be lost, Kratos, I will be there to help.
Within the temple, we're immediately greeted by a challenge room that can feel super frustrating at first, since we need to push statues across the room to cover holes in the wall in order to stop the flood of endless harpies that will continue to attack you until you do. But with a little patience and just being quick about letting go to parry their attacking time, it can be done really quick without much trouble at all. With the tide of harpies plugged, we emerge out the back of the temple. We find the Oracle, who is left hanging from a rope, and after a quick block puzzle, a timer begins. And with just a little over a minute, we must race to save her. Now, I was pretty slow at this on the first playthrough, but we do have to get a trophy for saving her with 10 seconds left to spare, which is actually really easy to do. And I'll be making sure to get it in God mode anyway, so we'll get that on the next playthrough. The Oracle then looks into our mind, and we get a look into Kratos' past. Learning that he once led a brutal Spartan army, he cared only for winning glory for Sparta, using all kinds of terrible methods to achieve his victory. We learn he also had a family, who is presumably dead now. The Oracle is disgusted by the man Athena has sent her, but she dutifully tells Kratos of Pandora's box and how it is his only chance of obtaining the power he needs to kill a god. Sending him on his way, we are now out of Athens, on our way to Pandora's temple, which is the largest and hardest part of the game. Enormous temple on the back of a titan, deep in the desert, full of traps and all manner of difficult fights. Unfortunately, we must go through the desert first, which is honestly one of my least favorite parts of the game. The sirens are just awful to fight. For this first section, there are 3 of them spread out in a sandstorm. You can't see much, and all 3 must be tracked down and killed to open the door to move forward. The sirens are just annoying to fight, in my opinion, but thankfully they do die pretty quick, especially on hard mode, so it doesn't take too long. Unfortunately though, that's not the last we've seen of the sirens, as right up ahead, we get ambushed by a large group of them at once. We blow the horn and call over Kronos the Titan, who carries the temple upon his back.
Kronos, the last of the mighty Titans, emerged from the desert sands. On his back, Pandora's temple awaited, massive and patient, ready to challenge all who went in search of its guarded treasure. For 3 days, Kratos climbed the sheer walls of the mountain. He knew he would either recover Pandora's box or perish inside the cursed temple, never to return to the world of man.
Just a damn good opening to the temple. Once again, before reaching our goal, we're ambushed, this time by a much harder version of the Cyclops. These guys have some super crazy range, and their hitbox is awful, so they're super hard to avoid without just staying as far away as possible while stunning them with slam attacks. Mostly though, they become an issue, like most things, on God mode, because they just basically two-shot you. They do a lot of damage. With the Cyclops down, we open the door, and our journey through Pandora's temple has truly begun. We arrive in the massive rings of Pandora, which is a puzzle that we will be slowly completing as we explore the temple, collect keys, open doors, and rotate rings. But for now, there's not much to do other than rotate the outer ring enough until we find Artemis waiting for us with a new gift. We now have the Blade of Artemis, which seems like a pretty decent single target focused weapon, but to be honest, I'm mostly stuck with the chain blades, only experimenting with it a few times. This is definitely a major difficulty spike entering this temple. Fights are bigger and more demanding, traps and puzzles are brutal and punishing, the temple is no joke. Of course, there's no escaping more rope sections. Thankfully, you can really just tank your way through on hard, but on God mode, this is not the case. This damn saw room drove me nuts on the first playthrough until I got used to it. Another case of it looking and feeling much worse initially than it really is. For now, we will need to actually return here later, but what we have to do is pull both levers as quick as possible and exit through the barred door before it resets. The timing is super tight, and one little nick from a saw is enough to slow you down enough to not make it. I went down the other path for the moment though to get away from the frustration of that saw room, which is good because we needed an item from this way anyway to actually be able to progress. But basically, screw any part of this game with conveyor belts. It's just never a good time. We now have a timed room though, where we must clear the enemies and grab the lever before the floor falls out from underneath us. The only time I struggled with this was on the first playthrough, surprisingly. And I did get a trophy for a 100-hit combo, which doesn't really matter too much since I gotta make sure to do it on God mode anyway, but after failing a few times, I decided to smarten up, and I got my first upgrade into Poseidon's Rage, which really did make a world of difference. Now that we have the handle of Atlas, we must backtrack through the conveyor belt, which is way worse this time. And of course, when you die on the saws, you gotta go all the way back and do the conveyor belt again. And the more tilted at the saws I became, the more impatient on the conveyor belt I was, and I just made more mistakes. I got really ridiculous, actually, right here. I got so tilted, not gonna lie. Then, when I finally did make it through the gate, you were immediately greeted by a nice pit of death. So that's fun. Thankfully, the devs were decent enough to put a checkpoint right there. They wanted to troll you, but they didn't want to waste your time. So, you know, I can appreciate that at least. We repair the crank with the lever we got earlier, raise the boulder above Atlas's head, grab our final health upgrade from the Gorgon Eyes, obtaining a trophy. We then use the boulder to smash our way out of the room to obtain the first skull of the temple. These are the different skulls of the architect and his family, used as keys to open the doors back in the Rings of Pandora, which the game always does a good job of wrapping you back around to after completing each of the challenges. On the way back, we get another flashback. We learn of the battle where Kratos finally faces defeat. Instead of accepting death, he pleads to Ares for help, which he does come to regret forever. This is also where we see that Kratos feels shame for what he has become. Back within the rings, we insert the skull and travel deeper, where a giant stone roller circles the ring, threatening to crush Kratos underneath. As a kid, I remember it taking me forever to figure this out. And I didn't grow up with internet, so I wasn't able to just look it up or anything like that. I remember getting stuck on this for freaking ever. And it never crossed my mind that I could jump on the ring. I just assumed that I would take damage if I, got touched by that thing at all. But no, so apparently you just gotta jump on top of it, and at least as an adult, I did very much so remember this part, so I just went right to the top of the stairs, got on the roller, used it to cross the room, and climb up the ladder, getting out of the ring and into our next challenge. Poseidon's challenge introduces us to a few new enemy types, the first of which are the Cerberus, which I was a real dumbass with them for a while. I didn't realize that they were on a timer. I figured a set amount of the pups would get big, so I didn't really focus down the pups and just mostly try to play defensively while chipping down the big boys, which if you played this game before, you'll know that's a horrible idea and led to me having a screen full of Cerberuses. Me being the idiot that I am, just assumed that this was normal, so I spent a good 20 minutes, maybe more, on this playthrough, and I think the next, making this way harder than it needed to be. When in reality, if you just hyper-focus the pups down, you can avoid all but one of the big boys. Immediately after one of the longest fights of my life, 2 Cyclopses come rushing us around the corner. Luckily, they're a piece of cake after that, and the true annoyance awaits us from where they came. A group of archers, spamming you with explosive arrows. All we have is a slow block to push for cover. The problem is that the explosive arrows embed into the block, and even if they're on the other side, will blow up and hit you, knocking you away, and on God mode, taking a pretty sizable chunk of health. The more I played the game, the more I came to absolutely just hate the archers. They might possibly be the worst enemy in the game with the way they're utilized. Another new enemy is introduced further up the path, similar to the original basic enemies, except they have swords now, and are real quick to punish you for impatience. I know I've said it a lot, but this enemy is a whole new beast on God mode. We then come to one of my least favorite rooms, or at least it was until I stopped doing it wrong. Poseidon's Sacrifice. Our goal is simple. Push a caged prisoner from one side of the room to the other. The problem is that we must push uphill, and more sword-wielding enemies endlessly spawn and spam you down. If you're not careful and aren't able to get the cage in front of you on one of the bits of floor acting as a checkpoint, preventing the cage from sliding back, then your progress can be completely reset. There's not anything fun about this design. But with that being said, like many parts of the game, you can eventually start to get a feel for the strategy, and by the time I was on my last run of the game, this room was no problem. It's all about using your magic at the right time, like most of them. Chip down the enemies as much as you can, use Poseidon's Rage to finish them off all at once, and then you get some time in between the respawns to be able to actually make some progress. This one, though, I struggled for quite a while, and then I got it just barely by freezing the last guy just in time before more spawned. While he slid down, I was able to get the cage the rest of the way. This is also where I started to have some internet issues, which is why the game looks a little glitchy at times. A little low bitrate. This only happened a few times though, and I think only on the first playthrough. Once we finally have the sacrifice in place, we get him extra crispy in the name of gods and all that. Then I can finally leave this awful room. Poseidon's trident is ripped from its resting place, giving us the ability to breathe underwater. This is immediately needed progress, so I start making my way through the debris-strewn depths of the flooded parts of the temple, making sure to kiss the naiads as I do. A few will get phoenix feathers, and it will award a trophy. I did collect the last of the Muse keys, earning a trophy. But at the time, I didn't quite understand what they were for, and I actually completely missed the door that they're used in before I left the rings. So I didn't get them in this playthrough, but in the subsequent playthroughs, I did use the room, and it's a really good room, so we'll be looking at that later. We surface once again back at the Rings of Pandora. This time, our new ability allows us to dive down into the water within the innermost ring. We now arrive at Hades' challenge, which are all tough and culminate in an insanely long and difficult boss fight at the end. This first one pretty much always gave me trouble my entire time with the game. It requires you to kill 4 centaurs, each in one of these circles, so 8 in total. Sounds simple, but these enemies have awful hitboxes, and it's so easy to get stun locked for all your health. On top of that, actually getting the centaur to die within the circle can be a real challenge, as they aren't too keen on staying put for very long. They'll just block any damage, instantly counterattack, or reposition on a dime. Of course though, like most of these rooms, just try your best to chip them down, finish them off with Poseidon's Rage. If I could unbind the spin attack, I frickin' would, dude. Filling both circles awards us a trophy and opens the door to the labyrinth, a long series of tightly winding corridors full of enemies. The door at the end, though, only open once every enemy is dead. There's also insta-kill traps throughout here, and if you die to one, you must start the whole thing over. It can be quite the process, especially if you're trying to open all the chests every time. I got pretty lucky on this playthrough, though. Managed to blindly stumble my way through just well enough to not die. But this will become an issue on the next one. We emerge from the labyrinth, step on this button, raise up this giant statue that we must then activate to shine its light into the darkness, allowing us to finally make our way to the boss. First, we have a long corridor where we must traverse while dodging flaming boulders that come rolling by. It's not too bad, but there are quite a few doors along each side of the walls, and only one is the way forward, while the rest are a dead end. Luckily, it only took me a few doors to find the right one, towards the middle on the left side. All that's left is to fight our way to unlock the Minotaur's door. Can't forget the saw beams from hell. Like I said in the beginning of the video, just so incredibly bad at the beams, the balancing on this playthrough. Of course, every time you fail, you start the whole section over and need to open every chest again. Finally, we unlock the door, and the next huge boss fight can finally begin. This dude was kicking my ass for a while. It felt like I was in that fight for 10 minutes each time just to get to the final phase, and every time I finally did, it just felt hopeless. Once his armor is off, his aggression increases, he no longer staggers, gives health or magic, and his health bar is huge. Takes quite some time to chip down as well with all the avoiding you have to do. I even got the trophy for dying enough times to get offered easy mode, so you know, strategy. Then, as my palms are slick with sweat, my heart threatened to pound out of my chest. Out of the darkness, towards the very end of the fight, comes the most beautiful ray of shining cheese. Probably the best cheese I've ever found. If you stay up top and attack only his left hand near the stairs, making sure not to stray too far in the middle, the Minotaur will only use like two very basic, very blockable attacks, making the fight much easier. It was a beautiful thing, and it ensured that I was able to finish out the fight. But I only got it at the very end, so I wasn't sure if it would work the entire fight yet. So I was very excited to try that out on God mode, and I was praying that it would. With the Minotaur finally dead, the way to the next skull is open. I'm able to get the final upgrade for the chain blades. I've been very inefficient with my upgrades on this run though, but this does upgrade our Rage of the Gods as well, giving us infinite magic while it's activated, and is basically essential for the Ares fight. Another nice touch I always remember, even when I was a kid, is when they're maxed out, the chain blades get a brighter red glow that I always thought looked nice.
Kratos, take this power.
Upon returning to the boss room, we get the final bit of magic, Hades' Army, which I know is a really good ability, especially when upgraded. I didn't really start using it though until God mode. But at this point, the image quality was quite bad for a bit, so I'll mostly summarize and kind of move things along so we're not showing too much of just this. We return to the rings and we can align them. That way we have just one long corridor and we can turn on this crystal beam, and that gives us access to the elevator, which allows us to move up to the top of the temple, where we are immediately introduced to satyrs. Another flashback shows us Kratos and his army being saved by Ares, who then burns the chains of the blades we have come to rely upon onto his arms, and his servitude to the god of war begins.
A part of the bearer's body, a permanent reminder of Kratos' pledge. In return, ultimate power.
We then arrive at the Cliffs of Madness, where two pendants are required to open the bridge forward. One pendant lies behind this insanely difficult box pushing puzzle. At least it was really difficult for me, especially on this first playthrough. The timing on it is so damn tight, and the movement system and everything, you know, it's an older game. It can feel a little jank. You know, while I was getting used to it, I really struggled with this, because one little like misinput or just like not being close enough to actually grab the box, the timing is so tight that that's all it takes, and it's all over. Finally, with trophy and necklace in hand, I step into another dimension. Alright, yeah, this might be a problem. Near the second necklace, I get the last phoenix feather, then just have to solve a rather tedious block puzzle. And the last bridge is open. Kratos relives some memories of all the terrible things he did in Ares' service. Until one day, sacking a village, upon being warned to leave a temple alone, Kratos carelessly ignores the lady, pushing forward and slaughtering everyone inside.
Oracle's warning fell on deaf ears. His ambition would not be denied. All who opposed him would die.
All we know for now is he comes to regret this for the rest of his days. A bit further on, we arrive at the architect's house, and our final stop in the temple. There's a timed puzzle here where we must activate 2 of the 3 switches by weighing them down. For the 3rd button, we must activate from the other side of these platforms and saws, and then quickly make our way back over towards the door. But I actually had this crazy glitch happen. When I was on my way to the 3rd button, I died, and then I respawned, but the door was already open, so I was able to just go right through. This was the only time this happened, but I'm not complaining. I rip off the final skull, obtain a trophy for it, and slam it into the lock, allowing us access to the final challenge room of the temple, and certainly one of the worst. Of course, it's another conveyor belt. One with giant grinders at the end, doing massive damage if you touch them, all while an absurd amount of harpies and archers spawn. Oh, and if you stay on these platforms for more than a few seconds, an insta-kill jet of flame will shoot out.
Kratos, your quest is at an end. You are the first mortal to ever reach Pandora's box. There is still time to save Athens. You must bring the box back to my city and use it to kill Ares.
As we begin slowly pushing the heavy flaming box back to Athens, Ares' spidey sense tingles and he hurls a massive stake straight through Kratos' chest. Another flashback shows us that it was his own wife and daughter who had been placed in the temple by Ares in the hopes that Kratos would murder them. Ares wanted his creation to become stronger than ever now that he had no mortal ties holding him back. But instead, Kratos came to hate the god and swore to one day kill him. This is also when he is cursed to wear his family's ashes forever upon his skin, officially creating the ghost of Sparta.
As the minions of Ares claimed Pandora's box, Kratos' life faded, and his cursed soul was cast into the fires of Hades. And Kratos fell into the underworld, the river Styx beckoning below, the currents strong enough to carry even the strongest mortal to his eternal resting place.
The captain that we screwed over in the beginning of the game, once again, just can't catch a break. As we climb up off his back, keeping out of the river Styx below, our journey through the underworld begins. There are a few key points of this area that can be a pain. The spinning spike logs of death, and the spinning spike cliff wall of death. Other than that, this area has some annoying archers, but it's relatively short, thankfully. This part is just evil design. The underworld is rich in red orbs though, so it's a nice section to get some leveling caught up. We then unfortunately come to a spike wall that we must scale without getting hit by one of the large spikes or else we're knocked all the way back down. These hitboxes are pretty unforgiving. This is yet another section that I was just ridiculously bad at on the first playthrough, and there's actually a trophy for climbing it without taking any damage, which you seem to just get by making it up, since in my experience if you take any damage at all you just fall right back down anyway. You can see that I already got it once I made it, even though, you know, it took a few tries or so. We still have one more section to make. I sucked so bad, the game threw me out of the map. All that's left is to fight an army of satyrs, just 2 at a time, with each kill raising a new platform up, allowing you to eventually reach the exit. With our path forward finally open, the level just wouldn't be complete without another annoying archer section. Then, like a lifeline straight from the gods, a rope falls in front of us and we climb it up and out of the underworld. Finding that we are back at the Temple of the Oracle, where the old man was digging the hole in the beginning. Some really cool level design here though, how everything wraps back around and just feels so connected.
Kratos, and not a moment too soon.
The old man tells us Athens is close to falling, but there's still time to save it if we hurry. With just a few rather easy fights standing between us and our target, it's not long before the absolute frustration of the final fight with Ares has begun.
Kratos had traversed the desert of lost souls, bested the deadly traps of Pandora's temple, and escaped Hades itself. There was but one task left.
Kratos knocks Pandora's box from the god's hands, opens its lid, and obtains the power he needs to stand against Ares and evens the odds. Although in reality, Ares can just kill you with the flick of his wrist still. Has crazy, seemingly unavoidable attacks, and a second phase requiring you to defend a target in a near unwinnable situation. This fight sucks. The first phase isn't too bad. Don't get me wrong though, especially on God mode, it still kicked my ass. But the real bullshit begins on the second. This first phase mostly comes down to blocking on time and making sure to dodge certain AoE attacks that do massive damage. Other than that, pop Army of Hades when you can, and chip him down with extreme patience. Eventually I did get a bit smarter and started to make sure I had full magic for the second phase, but for now I was just worried about getting there.
Let the rage of the gods drive your blades, Kratos.
I have taught you many ways to kill a mortal, Kratos. Flesh that burns, bones that break. But to break a man's spirit is to truly destroy him.
Thankfully, there's checkpoints between phases here. Although if you need to turn off the game or otherwise reload, it will make you start back on phase 1. But for now, the absolute atrocity that is phase 2 has begun. For this, we must protect our family from a bunch of Kratos clones. They can die decently quick, but their staggering is super inconsistent, can stun you from quite far away, can grab you from quite far away, and if that happens, it's pretty much all over since you can't recover in time before the family dies, at least not on God mode. Also, it goes on for way too long, with harder versions of Kratos eventually spawning, wielding the Blade of Artemis, and they do so much damage they can damn near one-shot the family, and if there's multiple of them attacking at once, the family's just dead. They're done. There's nothing you can do. They're done. There's even an enemy on a platform that will move back and forth, and he'll throw lightning bolts at you, and there's basically nothing you can do about him, because if you stop stemming the tide of endless Kratoses that just keep spawning for even a half a second, they will most likely just overwhelm you and the family, and you'll lose. The section is just unfair. It's not fun. My entire time with this game, and it never got much better. Yes, I did get better strategies and was able to do it quicker, a little bit more consistently, but it still just felt like an RNG slog the whole time. Basically, you want to perfectly pace how you use rage and magic and hugging your family, which transfers some of your health to them, all while literally having everything go your way with the clones. Using the square hold square combo eventually became the best way to kill them for me. It was quick and it would most of the time stun them or send them flying. But if you're just too close, they seem to just initiate their attack. They just like become immune to stagger and they just initiate their attack no matter what. And they'll stun lock you from pretty far away, which can very quickly cause you to fall behind.
Kratos had done the impossible. He had saved his family.
Oh my god, it's actually possible. Holy fucking shit.
Do you see, God?
That was awful.
You took them once, but you'll never have them again.
You cannot save them, Kratos.
Finally, after more frustration than I can properly express, our struggle was in vain, as nothing we can do will save Kratos' family. Ares rips the chains from his arms, finishes off the family. He also takes our ability to use magic with the chains. But Kratos refuses to go down without his revenge, and rips the giant sword from Athena's statue that we crossed earlier in the game. And now we begin the third phase, which this phase can be actually over in just a couple of button presses and really quickly, but it can also feel super RNG dependent to get there. At first though, it felt literally impossible for me until I figured out the trick.
You cannot defeat me, Spartan!
Also, with every mistake, the fight is severely set back as he gets massive heals from the damage he does. The hitboxes can feel pretty clunky here as well, especially the point-blank fireball attack. Most of it comes down to just baiting his attacks and rolling away best you can, because if he does the fireball and you're anywhere near him, you just get stun locked and you basically die. He also has a second fireball attack, which is more of a ranged one. It like splits into a bunch of tiny fireballs, and you can block it, but if you stand there and block it, he just walks up to you and does his point-blank fireball attack, and you're dead. And then if you try to dodge it, it perfectly tracks your ass. But that's the only thing I could really see as a consistent strat, was trying to bait it into the wall behind you and perfectly dodging at the last second. But with my entire time with this game, I only got that to work once. So, a little tough. Basically, if you did that fireball attack, it was most likely just all over. Eventually, I learned about the clashing mechanic, which is the main gimmick of the fight to do damage. If you do enough damage to Ares before he starts blocking your attacks, you'll enter a button mashing event and get some solid damage off after stunning him. Although if you try doing it without getting damage first and he just immediately blocks, then he will always win the clash. Basically though, with the right timings on baiting his attacks and punishing, it only takes 2 clashes to be able to finish this phase. Much easier said than done though.
Now you will be truly tested. You should have joined me, Kratos. Remember, Kratos, it was I who saved you in your time of greatest need.
I haven't forgotten, Ares. I remember how you saved me.
That night, I was trying to make you a great warrior.
You succeeded.
Kratos completed his quest for revenge, but soon learns that the gods never intended to relieve him of his nightmares. So we return to where it all began, at the edge of a foggy precipice.
Now there is no hope.
And Kratos cast himself from the highest mountain in all of Greece. After 10 years of suffering, 10 years of endless nightmares, it would finally come to an end. Death would be his escape from madness. The fate of Kratos was not as it seemed. The gods had other plans. Borne aloft like a feather, Kratos found himself risen from the sea and placed on solid earth.
Upon reaching the bottom, Kratos is saved and risen up to Olympus, where he is given some sweet golden blades, and the throne where we must now sit as the new god of war. Our journey is not yet done with this game, however. In fact, it has only just begun, as now God mode has unlocked, and we must do it all again, but of course, better. This next run, I'll be mostly focusing on some of the tougher sections where I struggled, since we can compare with the final couple of playthroughs. But there's still a lot of content to get through here, so I will kind of skip through most of this playthrough, like I said, just focusing on some of the harder sections. Because basically the final 2 playthroughs of my time with this game, for this video, were both to obtain 2 of the final most difficult trophies of the game. Now, my main focus was to obviously try and not suck at God mode, which was going to take some practice, but also to get enough red orbs to max everything else, since that was a trophy we still needed. Going into this though, I had no idea just how difficult of a task that would be, and would require some serious focus to get done. Since on God mode we get fewer orbs, also according to Google, enemies are more aggressive, do more damage, and have more health. This is immediately demonstrated to me with the Hydra. Regardless, after having just conquered Pandora's temple and the god of war himself, there was nothing that was going to hold us back. Not yet, anyway. Of course, damn near all difficulty increases pale in comparison to those in the rope sections. Admittedly, I started this one on really low health, so I guess it's my fault for just being so bad. I had to keep inching forward just enough to spawn the enemies, then backtrack, trying to kill the one behind as quick as possible, then killing the rest from the ground. It was absurd, it took forever. Here's a little PSA for all the prospective God of Wars out there. Stay the hell away from ledges when a Gorgon is around. Of course, each time I went through, I found more secrets, which would be essential to finally getting the max everything trophy. Time to get this with 10 seconds to spare. Should be no problem for the new God of War.
And with that act, Kratos set in motion the events that would lead to his downfall.
It should be noted at this point that cutscenes are sadly unskippable, so I'm watching them every time. Thankfully, they're short and sweet for the most part, so it's not too big of a deal. No surprise whatsoever, the sirens are more annoying than should be possible. Hello, Sawroom, my old friend. Once again, I made the first Cerberus fight way harder than it needed to be. Had a pretty nice run through Poseidon's Sacrifice.
Free me! You must set me free!
Then we're back to Hades' challenge, and it's all pain once again. Got max chain blades a decent bit earlier. Unfortunately, my luck from the previous run here faded, and I got killed towards the end of the labyrinth, having to redo everything. Twice. Okay, so maybe 3 times. What happened there was, on the first playthrough, I just happened to get into the little hidden room behind the block without realizing the block moved at different distances. So for example, you can only get inside this room every 2 times that it slams forward per cycle, since every other time it doesn't retract enough for you to be able to get into the room. So I didn't know that, and I just expected the block to let me in, and in my absolute surprise, I got slammed into the wall and insta-killed. I'm pleased to report the Minotaur hand cheese works for the entire fight, making this significantly faster and more consistent. I can't really bring myself to feel bad about it either, as this dude drove me nuts as a kid. Making sure to just walk a few feet down the stairs whenever he does the slam attack, it makes you completely avoid that. I made sure to use the Muse keys this time, which the door is found by rotating the outermost ring and contains some pretty damn good loot, giving massive experience. And extra health and magic. Got this first try. Had to do this properly now. Before the journey through the underworld and our inevitable face-off against Ares again, I decided to knock out a few other trophies. Within the treasures, there's a short movie about Kratos and his brother as a child.
When men ask for the origin of Kratos, the true tale was never known. The truth is that Kratos, like all men, began life as a child. But childhood in ancient Sparta was a brutal existence. Children deemed fit and strong were trained to be warriors, the protectors of Sparta. The weaker children were caged, sent to the mountains to fend for themselves. They were not expected to survive. And while Kratos escaped the fate of the weaker children, his brother was not so lucky. The two, once inseparable, were now alone. Kratos would become legend, but the story of his brother has gone untold. A child left in the mountains, he had died years before. Coming of age in the underworld, he had but one desire: revenge against the brother who deserted him all those years ago.
Then there's the Challenge of the Gods, which at the time I had no idea what I was committing to. An almost 2-hour ordeal of pure, gimmicky frustration and agony. We have 10 challenges in total with no checkpoints, so once you start, you must see it through to the end, otherwise leaving will cause you to start back on challenge 1. A fate I wouldn't wish upon my worst enemy. It didn't take me long to just look up a guide to save time, since figuring out these gimmicks was a little weird and just extra frustration I was not about to put up with at the moment. So this first one, we have to knock these shield guys off the edge with a pretty short time limit, and really the best way to do it, apparently, is to just try to grab them, and the animation of you getting knocked back off their shield, both of you get pushed backwards from each other, and that will slowly but surely knock them off the edge. Yes, this was very tedious. Second one is pretty simple, at least. We just need to rotate around these platforms while popping magic and killing the enemies in time. Another quick one requiring us to space out perfectly around the arena, doing the jump slam attack, breaking all the pots within the time limit. This one was quite annoying, as we just have to kill the Minotaurs and will instantly fail if anything else dies, which everything dies pretty quick now with these golden blades. This one is ridiculous, but not as bad as it looks once you know what to do. We must shoot only the undead as they rotate around the platform like a clock. Time to shoot is roughly when they're passing the chip in the upper right of the platform, the part of the platform that has been chipped away. It's tough to time, but I did get used to it, and it didn't take me actually too many attempts once I understood that. Now for another one that purely exists to be annoying and cause suffering. All we must do is reach the last platform in time. Big thing with these platforms to note is that if you go anywhere near the edge, you just get thrown off. Like there's no normal animation of him grabbing the ledge. He just gets yeeted right off. Next, we just need to not get hit, which isn't too bad with these enemies. The next one is pure absurdity. I legitimately had to pause the game mid-fight and double check that I wasn't doing something wrong, as it seriously seemed like the Gorgons would just never stop spawning. It's hard for me to properly show just how long this single fight went on, so I guess I'll just speed it up and try to show you that way. Just 2 left at this point. Luckily, this one's pretty easy, so we just need to kill some Cyclops within the time limit. With just 1 challenge left, it's only fitting that this is by far the worst and most frustrating. All we must do is stay on the platform and kill the enemies. Each enemy that we kill will rise the platform further into the air and will eventually allow us to reach a second platform quite higher up. And as soon as we get on that platform, we win. But this is truly awful. Whoever made this, why? What is wrong with you? Who hurt you? Not only are like the physics of the game different here, like the tiniest tap while you're blocking will just yeet you off the edge. I mean, like, you just get yeeted. A cough, like one of these puppies can just cough from across the other side of the platform and you go flying. Like, it is just awful. They did everything they could to make sure that you just fall off. Oh, and the satyrs, they can just decide to grab you with their little sticks, and if they want, they can just throw you off the edge. You just kind of have to hope that doesn't happen. If you get stunned by one pup, it's super easy to just get chain stunned to death, never being able to move again. I can't remember the last time I died more on a single section in any video game, to be honest with you. I tried everything the internet suggested, which involved mostly spamming the Apollo lift attack or the slam attack that I was doing for one of the other challenges, but none of these seemed to work, as they might work for a few moments, but then I would just get grabbed or, you know, yeeted off the edge. Like, I mean, it was not consistent in any way. Everything about this just felt like it would just take it was like winning the lottery. There's such a crazy amount of RNG to be able to proceed. Eventually, though, after more than an hour of attempts, more than half my time with this entire challenge, what finally got me through it was the puppy spam. I didn't see this as a suggestion anywhere, but damn did it work. Basically, I just tried getting as much iframes as possible by just throwing the pups as much as possible, like literally just spamming throws, since you can't get hit or grabbed while you're in that animation. The first time I tried this, it worked like a charm, so I can't speak to its consistency, as I'll never do this again. But with that awful experience finally over, it's back to our God mode run. Although we do unlock some costumes for completing the challenge of the gods, they can't be used in God mode since they all give special effects making the game easier, and they all look pretty terrible, honestly, except maybe the Ares armor. Which is unfortunate because I was hoping for a pretty cool cosmetic skin to be able to wear for the rest of the game, and it was one of the reasons why I did the challenge of the gods at the time. But that's okay, I'll just rock basic Kratos. Oh man, did it feel good to be back in the normal game after that. I moved through Hades without too much issue, starting to realize I almost certainly wouldn't have enough red orbs for the trophy, but before I knew it, it's time to grind out the Ares fight again, and damn did the second phase get so much worse on God mode. Even the first phase gave me a bit of trouble, but only took a few tries.
Pathetic. I will show you what real power is. Beg for your life, mortal! Is that the best you can do?
family dies so freaking fast on God mode. I did get a 400 hit combo here, so I knew that we were good to go on the combo trophies on God mode.
on the impossible.
Yeah, that was way worse. With our enormous sword plunged through Ares' chest once again, that's our first God Mode run complete. Unfortunately, I was 5,500 red orbs short from being able to max everything out, and for some reason, even though they give you the golden blades and everything, you're not allowed to leave at this point, so there's no way to get any more orbs. So once again, I prepare to go through the Gauntlet of God of War 2005. But this time with the sole focus of squeezing every red orb I can out of the playthrough, since the only other trophy at this point is completing the game in under 5 hours. And since I'm going to be doing that on God Mode, I knew that there was no way that I was going to get all red orbs and do that, so I knew I at least needed 2 more full playthroughs to get everything done. So also, by the way, our first run was roughly around 8 hours on hard mode. Our second run was a little bit over 7 hours on God Mode, so we were a bit faster, but still over 2 hours off from being able to hit our 5-hour target. But for now, I settled in and got started with another God Mode run. This time, searching every nook and cranny, pulling out all the stops to get every red orb I can. I did a little research, and from what I learned, the best way to soak up more red orbs is by, of course, getting high combos. So all I gotta do is stop being bad. Grabbing enemies and using the circle attack instead of just throwing them gives more. Turning enemies to stone and smashing them. And there's specific spots with endlessly spawning enemies that we can kind of sit at and farm a bit extra, like the Medusa's room. After ripping off her head, we can take our time farming orbs since there are magic regens, and it's nice and easy to just sit here until they stop giving any, because eventually they will. There's a room in Athens with infinite minotaurs, where we can basically do the same thing, since the magic chest here will regenerate, giving us endless magic. I never even noticed you could get on top of these buildings in Athens as well, and had missed quite a few chests up here. Can't forget to smash everything in sight, as you get a surprising amount from certain things like statues. At this point, I started to evolve and employ speedrun strats. It took me a while, but I finally figured out that you can hang from this ledge and find a nice stash back here. Here's a chest tucked away in front of the Oracle's temple. Farm the Endless Harpies a bit, then grab the 2 hidden chests towards the entrance. Finally made the Cerberus fight easier, only had 2 big boys spawn, as opposed to the normal 20. Got max chain blades way earlier than ever before. Hadn't even gotten out of Poseidon's challenge yet. Didn't bother farming enemies in Poseidon's sacrifice because screw that room. Found a nice room above one of the last naiads. Using the Muse room again, my health and magic were now further than they'd ever been at this point, already maxed out. Within the puzzle room for the second necklace, we can climb up here and find a surprising amount of stuff I'd been missing. After a while, climbing the walls along the Cliffs of Madness, I found more chests at the very top. I then of course died in the jankiest way and had to do it all again. Wouldn't have it any other way. And past those enemies I just died to was an even bigger chest. At this point I was able to max Army of Hades already and was feeling pretty confident, but was taking no chances, so I continued to kill and search every single thing in sight. Found another spot where we can use the crane to reach. Back in Hades, the confidence was solidified all the more, as each and every enemy drops big orbs, and there's quite a few chests scattered along the main path and slightly off it that I knew we would get a ton of orbs if we took the time to do everything. Unfortunately, that did mean taking all the side paths down the spinning spike logs of death. Coming out of the underworld, all that was left was a little over 7k orbs to max Medusa's gaze and Zeus's lightning. So I was pretty certain we'd be good, since after completing Ares' first phase, I was pretty sure I remembered getting around 10k for that. So all that was left was to fight our way back to the temple once again, and defeat Ares for the second time on God mode. Technically, I only needed to do the first phase, but of course I was going to go all the way. Upon arriving at Ares, I was quickly reminded of 2 big chests right outside of the arena. So now all we needed was 5,600.
The rage of the gods drive your blades, Kratos.
After a few dumb mistakes, the first phase was quickly complete, and I even managed to save close to full magic. Before getting into the second phase, I went right into my power-ups and upgraded Medusa's gaze though, securing my trophy. At this point, I could at least feel myself getting a little bit better at this awful section, since it only took me 2 tries to get to the Artemis Blade Kratoses. And on my 3rd try, I got pretty lucky and completed it. But it does make a huge difference to have your magic full when you get into this, and having everything upgraded correctly and whatnot, and using it correctly, because there really is like a method to when you use things. I mean, basically you want to just wait as long as humanly possible. And surprisingly enough, I got the 3rd phase on the 3rd try as well. And look at how back and forth this final attempt here was where I got it. And this was the longest thing ever, but I gotta show it, because it was ridiculous.
Kratos! I spot him. You test my patience, Spartan! Defeat me, Spartan!
Once Ares is dead again, we ascend the throne with trophy in hand, setting my sights on the final trophy that stands in the way of the platinum, beating the game in 5 hours or less, which of course we would be doing on God mode. Now, at the time, I wasn't sure how bad this would be, as now with 3 runs under my belt, and all taking around 7 hours, except for the first one, which was closer to 8, it seemed pretty doable, as all those runs involved me going pretty slow and exploring and learning as I went. So now my plan was to try and skip as much as possible, which especially early on, there's a lot of fights that you can just run past. I was only going to stop and open chests that were right on the main path. My only worry was making sure that we were strong enough to actually complete Ares, because I could see that second phase being basically impossible without enough magic or upgrades. At this point though, I was getting pretty sick of streaming this game over the internet instead of playing it normally. The input lag, the lowered video quality at times, it was all just getting to me, and I wanted to play the game it was meant to be, straight from the hardware. So to my surprise, I actually found an old PS3 in the closet, and after getting a few chords, it worked, and I was able to record and stream from it. I then ordered the full collection of the original games. I'm not messing around here, man. And I blasted through hard mode once again, because I needed to re-unlock God mode, but thankfully, we're able to sync up our trophies over old hardware, so everything else I was able to pick right up where I left off. And man, did it feel great to be playing straight from the PS3. Everything felt more fluid and responsive, the game looked sharper and more clear. Then it was time to take on the final challenge of the video. And I decided to do it while live streaming as well. That's why you can see my dumbass in the corner. The Hydra was slain and our boat docked in Athens within record time. Speedrun strats that were totally on purpose. I did what I could to skip fights and still get as many chests as possible. Biggest things slowing me down at this point were these damn walls and rope sections, as I still wanted to take my time and not risk dying, which would slow me down even more than slowly working through it. One thing I did learn was that you can roll cancel by rolling, then doing a light attack towards the end and instantly rolling again. This gets rid of the period at the end of the roll where Kratos slows down, and instead he just keeps on rolling, baby. I roll through most of Athens unimpeded, only fighting when forced. Was low on magic for this, so discovered some nice cheese to persevere. So fucking bullshit. Running through was definitely hurting me for magic early. It did help though that I basically just did my 100% run, so I knew where a lot of the secrets were, and I was able to just quickly get what I needed right off the main path. Skip everything in the sewer. Got through the desert deathless and in record time still. Of course, the rope section in the Atlas challenge had to slow me down.
Just fall off, just die! How are you alive? Oh my god! Who made this?
The last couple of runs, I had no troubles whatsoever in the Saws room. But of course, when time is of the essence, I have to choke.
No way! What? Sorry. How the fuck was that not enough time? No way! I'm literally past it!
I did plan on using the Muse door, especially since I discovered you only need 2 of the 3 keys to open the door. 2 of the keys are super easy to get right on the way. Once again, only had 2 big boys spawn. Hadn't died to this since the first playthrough.
No! Am I gonna die? Oh, he didn't grab it!
We can just run past these swordsmen and grab our second key behind the chain.
I thought one of them lived for a second there. God damn it, go. Keep me out of there! Alright, we should be good. Thank God.
Thankfully got the Centaurs first try, but I can't say it wasn't painful.
Damn it, stop it, Kratos! Ugh. Horrible hitbox. Please count. Shit. Can't just give it to me, I know. You're not gonna give me that one too, are you? I mean, why make him back up so goddamn much? You really didn't give me that one? I mean, what? They've really got to be some of the most awful enemies I've ever seen. Like, they're just...
I feel like a lot of these guys, like the Centaurs and the Satyrs, can feel really frustrating as they have like, they can feel, especially in packs, they can feel nearly unavoidable at times, the amount of damage that you're just like constantly taking throughout the fight. And it's like you're almost working against the clock to kill them before you can't like outlast it any longer.
No way you didn't die in there. What? Oh, thank God. It's really, that is seriously about as shitty as game design did. Like, that is eek misery.
Armed with my painful memories of what not to do in the labyrinth, I was able to make short work of it this time. I did regret not using the Muse keys before starting the next challenge, as I mostly wanted to save the couple minutes or so by just doing it when I went to align the rings. But if I had done it, then I probably would have had max chain blades, and probably would have saved enough time to make up for it by now. Especially on this rope section. Having max chain blades makes a huge difference on how fast these enemies die on these sections. Still got everything first try though, so can't complain too much, it just took a while. Of course, had to choke on pretty much all of these insta-kill trap rooms on this run. Got to take my frustration out on the Minotaur's left hand though. Did at least get max chain blades before that boss. After the Muse room, health and magic was actually looking pretty good. Turns out once you know the areas pretty well, you don't really have to go all that much out of your way. From what I can tell, they put more than enough feathers and Gorgon eyes throughout, and once you reach the max amount you can upgrade through them, their chests turn into a small amount of red orbs instead. I could be wrong on this, but that's what it seemed to be happening. Upon going to save, I could see that the last save put the run at around 3.5 hours. So I was starting to get worried since I still had the Cliffs of Madness, Hades, and Ares to complete in probably just a little over an hour or so at this point. So I pushed on with renewed haste. And luckily there's quite a few fights that we can just skip along the cliffs. Almost messed up the spike room.
What happened? Why didn't that go very far? I'm alive! How the fuck?
Made super short work of the cliffs. By the time I reached the Architect's house, I felt slightly reassured as we still hadn't reached the 4-hour mark. The nice part about getting into the Architect's house is we can skip every bit of combat here. We just gotta do the buttons.
Oh, Kratos!
Hadn't messed up the conveyor belt since the first run. And wasn't about to now.
Like I can't see anything and then all of a sudden they just all land on top of me. Okay, nice. Like, it's so strong that you can barely, like, keep up with it. You have to roll.
Back in Hades, I see we now have less than an hour to escape the underworld and kill a god. So I race past any enemy I can. Make no mistakes on the spike logs.
These are the worst, man. No!
Okay, make one mistake on the spike logs. Even blasted through the archers first try. Only took one fall down the spike wall.
Shit, no. Give me. Oh, thank you. Oh, let's go, dude. I don't think I got hit by that once.
Climbed out of the underworld and made a mad dash to the temple, seeing we still had 45 minutes to go. Luckily, everything dies pretty quick through the temple at least, so it only takes a few minutes before I'm once again face to face with Ares. Came so close to first trying his first phase, but of course not.
I didn't do that. I didn't do that. Uncancelable animation.
All your strength.
That, I mean, no matter what you're fighting, is literally just gonna hit you. God damn it! It just fucking happened again. Yeah, why is? I feel like things are really working out way better than normal right now. It's taking so much more damage. Is QTE pop up? I swear I saw this QTE pop up.
Got it on the third try though. Came so close to getting a second phase first try as well, but got it on the second try.
You're gonna do that to me? Oh my god, that is fun. Then the good old RNG grab. That's a run killer right there. Oh, let's go, dude. I don't know if I've ever done it in 2 tries before. I've definitely, like, the more times I do it, I can see the process. Like, it's a strategy of how, you know, when and how you use your magic.
But at this point, all my good luck was used up, and the third phase had to kick my ass.
Nice. Oh. Yep, peak bull. Honestly, just kill me. It's gonna be faster if you just kill me at this point. No bullshit. Finish the dick off right now. There's no way you're not dead. Oh, thank God. I thought he was about to kill my ass, dude, with 0 HP. And I was gonna cry.
With the fight complete, I was pretty certain I had gotten it done in time, but we still needed to ascend the steps of Olympus and find out. Checking the save, I can see that it puts us at just under 4.5 hours. We had done it with a half hour to spare. Let's go. I was stoked to have gotten it on the first try, and it wasn't nearly as bad as I had expected, really. Luckily, I mean, we had plenty of practice to get ready for this run, so it was pretty easy to maintain our strength while skipping everything, armed with the knowledge of all the little secret areas and whatnot. It definitely helped. So now, all that was left was to sit our throne and collect our trophies.
Hey, there it is. Speed of Jason McDonald. Let's go. There's the platinum.
Trophy of Zeus.
Hell yeah, dude. 1-800. Oh yeah, they give you a phone number for beating God mode, and you can call it, and Kratos will like tell you what happened to Ares or something like that.
Thank you guys so much for watching. I sincerely hope you enjoyed. I've been experimenting with new content and trying to improve with each video, so feel free to let me know how I could improve in the comments. Like and subscribe for more Kratos, as well as other challenge content they'll be doing as we go.